Hey, Juliet.
Hey Sammy, how are
Hey.
you?
Good. So we're going to give our first experiment a try.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn on our timer. Oh, hold on. I've got to set it. That would have been a useful thing to do before. So first learning of the experiment, set the timer
Yes.
up before we come on. So we've got 7.5 minutes and we're going to try within that time. We'll see how we go. To have a conversation about something we're noticing kind of cropping up, not just now. Actually, it crops up a lot, doesn't it, in our work? But we're going to start with that one. So
Hmm.
I'm going to press start. Juliet, so what is it that we're noticing right now that we thought might be useful to talk about?
Yeah, well, we were having a chat, weren't we, about a pattern that we see in a number of our clients across sectors, doesn't matter where you're working, which is really that we've kind of bannered as be careful what you wish for. So I'm sure, loads of people, and I absolutely relate to when I'm working with others in a team, with a manager. I really want to feel trusted, and I really want to not feel micromanaged. And there's this real kind of passionate protection of our autonomy and our independence, and
Yeah,
let me show you what I can do. Absolutely agree with all of that. Um, and it's a vital human need to feel some autonomy and control over our work. But I'm also noticing in managers and leaders that they have such a fear of being seen as micromanaging that they tend to delegate like a big project, an important responsibility, and then just step back. Um,
mm,
and and so it's like in honoring that individual's autonomy and with a really well intended desire to not micromanage, what we're kind of ending up with is people working in silos and people working very much as individuals rather than in connection and collaboration and in relationship with each other.
yeah,
And 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 I think we're kind of missing and overplaying the value of being an individual, a successful individual in a team or organization, and underplaying, like, when we come together, more heads are better than one, actually, that, we're greater than the sum of our parts. That's why
mm.
we're organized in collectives. But I don't know. Anyway, what do you think? I mean, that's the kind of topic that I'm interested in.
Yeah, and I really hear it, and I recognize it. I think I really like that phrase, kind of overplaying the value of the individual, because I think what also plays into that is hierarchy, or our perception of hierarchy. So if I delegate something to you and then I come back to you and say, how are you getting on? Um, the belief is, or the fear is, that how you're getting on is me checking up on you rather than asking, genuinely how it's going, and whether you need anything from me. So I think that hierarchy gets in our way as well of seeing ourselves as just a group of people trying to get shit done together,
Yeah.
or do something beautiful together, or experiment together, or whatever that might look like.
Mm.
And I think your point around then ending up on working in silos is a really important one. I recognise that from an organisation that um, have such high levels of trust in each other, that they all work with autonomy. They all work on their own, on their things, and they all therefore are doing what they think is best. But their versions of what best is are very different to one another.
Mm.
So actually, they're also creating, not only are they kind of creating all these separate buckets of knowledge and experience that don't get merged together and learnt from, but they're also creating real inconsistency on what our work looks and feels like. But
Mm.
like you say, it's all done with really great intent. Like the
Yes.
intention is, I'm not going to micromanage you. The intention is, I trust you to do your work beautifully. And the fear is, I might be seen as a micromanager, and I don't want that. But it is leaving us with these separate buckets and
Yeah,
all
and it
these
also
separate
plays.
flavors.
Yeah, separate flavors that are not combining into a really delicious meal.
Yes.
Um, and I guess it plays into maybe as well people's reluctance to um, have performance conversations. So then,
Yeah.
you get the pattern where the manager isn't quite happy with the quality of work that their team or employee is delivering, but because they've taken this very separate stance, they find it really difficult to step in and have a conversation about that, and they can banner
Yeah.
it under, well, I set out my expectations and they didn't deliver, but they've
Yeah.
not been
So
in relationship, so they've got a way out. They don't need to
yeah,
have this
that's
tricky
it.
conversation.
Yeah, so you go from feeling like you're giving autonomy, which is highly relational, there's loads of trust in this autonomy, to when the going gets tough, slipping into black and white clinical or transactional relationship of this is what I said and this is what you've done, and they're not the same thing.
Yeah.
So we leapfrog over just being alongside one another in
Yeah.
the work. Um, yeah, that's a really interesting point, because I think that's what we see a lot of as well, isn't it? Is leaders haven't really managed expectations very well, and they haven't checked in often enough. And
Mm.
when they get to the end of whatever it might be, neither party really knew what the other expected.
Yeah.
And we've either, if we have met expectation, it's kind of by fluke rather than by design.
Yeah. And we kind of call it sometimes seagull management, which maybe
Yeah.
people have heard of. So, the distance is the seagull circling high above. And then when there's a problem, they swoop in and shit all over the work and the person doing the work.
Or steal the
Um,
chips.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I think the challenge is, it's almost like that's the easy option. I'm out or I'm in, because it's really
Yeah.
clear. But the difficult place to be is in the messy middle. It's in the relationship. Like, I'm not just your manager in the hierarchy. I'm alongside you. Why don't we brainstorm this together?
Yeah.
Why don't we explore this confusing patch we're in together? And we can do that alongside each other. And that's not devaluing you, and it's not devaluing me. It's just because it might be better. And God, it might be
Yeah.
more fun.
Heaven
Like,
forbid. Heaven forbid
yeah,
it's fun. I think
yeah.
sometimes people just don't know how to instigate that conversation.
Mm,
I think sometimes it feels like if you were to go over to a colleague or someone in your team and say, "Oh, can we catch up on that project?" It sounds like you want a status. Tell
yeah,
me how you're doing on that thing.
yeah,
Um, so I think if we could just help people hold different questions, it might even just be, I'd love to understand how you've approached it, or I'd
yeah,
love to learn how you work when you think about this, or,
yeah,
I don't know what it could be, but it feels like we need to state more of our intention when we start instigating those conversations, because the cop out is, let's talk about X. And
yeah.
I think most people would read that as, oh, they want to know where I am with it.
Yes. So I think the another pattern I see is people don't often describe their intention for the conversation.
Yeah.
So they'll come out with the question, which is around what they want to do. Can we catch up on your project? Oh,
There's our alarm going off.
that
And
was
somehow
seven
I've
and a half
said it so it
minutes.
didn't actually have
Oh,
a sound to it. That was 7.5 minutes. Um, Now, I think it's important that you finish your point, because it's a really good one. So this is part of the experiment, right? We're not going to be like, done.
yeah.
But you were talking there. Carry on.
Can I remember the point I was making now? Oh, yeah. So we tend not to speak about our intention. So we'll talk about the action. Can we catch up on the project? But we don't say something like, I'd really love it if we could explore some of the tricky bits of this project together. Maybe
Yeah.
together we can come up with some interesting ideas. Should we do that?
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
or I don't want to be checking up on you. I trust you to do this, but I wonder if it might be a fun, interesting, experience if we just we dive into it together and see what we come up with creatively.
Yeah.
It's almost like unlocking the creativity, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
in our work together.
And it's really interesting, because when you see people in professions where safety is of highest importance, so I can think of one that I'm working with at the moment. When they are talking about the task, so a group of engineers, when they're talking about the task or the thing they've got to do, there is
Mm,
absolute transparency, because they all know that safety is of highest importance. So ego doesn't get in the way, none of that stuff. They just talk about how they need to do it at its best. And yet as soon as the need for that safety has kind of been sidestepped, or, we're talking about something slightly different, like, I don't know, timesheets or something that doesn't have that same level of risk, we don't have that same level of transparency or welcomingness, that's a word, um, openness to a conversation about how we're doing it. So exactly the same people are doing it beautifully in one way because the
Mm.
stakes are high, but in
Mm.
a different aspect, the same people are resisting that collaboration for whatever reason.
Yeah. But maybe
It's
the stakes are
fascinating.
still high because we come out with a poorer output if we're just
Yeah,
left as individuals doing it. We miss the opportunity and possibility of creating something different because there's more of us exploring it together.
yeah,
Um,
nice. So we've gone over time.
yes.
Headlines: avoid seagull leadership.
Yeah.
So that removedness, I can't do all the words today, there's no words. That being really, really far away and then
Yeah.
swooping in and stealing the chips or shitting all over people and swooping out
Yeah.
again.
Embrace the
And
messy
being
middle
embrace the messy middle
for
and
the
being
opportunities, yeah, that might arise, the possibilities. Be
yes.
careful what you wish for if what you really wish for is autonomy, because it can be lonely and
Yeah.
impoverished.
There we go.
There we go.
Right, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tammy. Bye.